Hello and welcome to another episode of Crossing the Line, Tales from the Entertainment Industry. I'm Charlie Cullicutt.
And I'm Oliver Rednall. In this episode, we speak with Oscar-winning filmmakers Rachel Shenton and Chris Overton. We discuss how they developed their Academy Award-winning short film The Silent Child, how the script inspired Chris to begin his career as a director, and how both of their careers have evolved from acting to developing their own projects.
As always, please make sure to like, subscribe, share and review on whatever platform you're listening on. Thank you.
Rachel, thanks for coming on today, and Chris. Rachel, you started off working in as a recurring character in television shows. How was it always a plan to go off and do your own thing and write and produce your own projects?
The short answer would be no, not at all. I started in television when I was really quite young, sort of jobbing at 17 and working up as you kind of do, and then I got a job in America. I was living in the States in a show called Switched at Birth on ABC Family. And I just remember really struggling to get work after that, like really find it hard to get seen. And I did the show in America. I remember thinking, oh, well, this is bound to have sort of changed people's opinions. It's about, maybe I'll be able to get in the room. And I just couldn't. And it was the same kind of story. And so writing the short film really was from a place of, well, I have to take control back, really. I'll write something I felt very passionately about and also give myself a job and keep myself busy. That's how it was born, really.
Because we often hear people were saying this just before we started, is people go, well, as an actor, you should make your own things. But that in itself is a huge task. And I don't think people realise that, when you're doing something of great quality, and the team you need to pull together is a monumental task in itself. Did you find that when working on the projects that you've worked on?
Oh my God! If I'd have known what was involved, I'd never have done it. Absolutely, I had no idea what was involved in making anything, and I'm really thankful for that. Because I think it was the naivety that really drove the project, to be honest. I didn't have a clue what could go wrong. I had, going on the festival circuit, winning awards, I didn't know it was possible. I kind of thought, well, I'll make something and I could put it in my show reel, or if we made something, if we made something really good, then I would want it to go in primary schools because it was about access to education, deaf awareness. So that was where I was aiming. I didn't really think that the rest was possible, and it was a blessing. Yeah.
And from working on that project, The Silent Child, from your first idea of it until when you won the Oscar for it, how long was that?
I think I started writing would be either the end of 2016 to the beginning of 2017. Is that right?
It was. I read the first draft of the script in May 2016.
Way off.
So it was actually.
Sorry, that was very loud.
Less than 2 years, I think, from the.
That's still quite a quick turnaround. Yeah, so it's less than 2 years from the first draft to the award.
But that was when I read it. Maybe when you started writing, it was around. It was probably a week before. I don't know. Yeah.
Do you feel more pressure now, having won such a prestigious award, to produce? Yes. You do. You feel like it's pushed more of an expectation onto you, because before you were just free to do as you please, but now you're almost holding yourself up against that.
I didn't even say I was free to do as I please. I could say people would you were even underestimated a bit to a certain degree. You've never written anything before, so no one's got any expectations, right? They're almost like, oh yeah, you're right, you crack on and have a go at that. That was the kind of general consensus, and I understand that because I haven't done anything. And then you go along to have mainstream success with something, and of course comes the expectations, which can be absolutely crippling at times, and really I've found them to be very paralyzing at times. And thankfully I'm through the other side of it now and back to the just writing what I want to write and creating what I want to create. But for a certain period, for sure, it skews everything, doesn't it?
And when you finished it and you were putting it in festivals and whatnot, at what point did the Academy Awards kind of come into that? Did you campaign at all, or did you just send it to them? What happened?
Yeah, I think the main aim of the film was to kind of just get it to the largest audience we possibly could. So we looked at the biggest film festivals in the world, and most of those were, like the Oscar qualifying ones. So it really was quite a long process. It felt like in quite a condensed. We did it in, looking back now, quite a condensed amount of time. So we got into our premiere was at Rhode Island, which is one of, I think, 100 festivals that are Oscar qualifying, and that was just like a huge celebration. I think if we would have premiered there and done nothing else, I think that would have been enough, because I think we screened on opening night to like 2,200 people. It was an incredible experience.
And you get told, don't you, for each festival, is like, this year we've had 5,000 applicants and they only select 250 or something. So you feel like you've won anyway.
Well, I think they had, that year in particular, they had about 6,000 applicants, so they said. So yeah, we really did feel like we won. And then we all like clubbed together and we took Maisie, the little girl, and Dad out there. So yeah, we really had an amazing experience. And then we went on our festival run, and loads of rejections along the way from other festivals.
Our rejection list is far bigger than our acceptance list.
I think that's so normal, but it really was. And I think that it took a while to get going, and then out of the blue in like December, I think it was December 2017, which was only 6 months after we premiered, because we won at Rhode Island, which means we were able to apply for the Oscars. So that's how that happened. We won the main grand jury prize at Rhode Island. So then we applied, sent our DVD or Blu-ray off to the Academy, which was crazy in itself. Never thought any more of it. And then they whittled it down to 10 films. And then our producer, Rebecca, just emailed us and said, guys, the Academy emails now. And then we were just like, oh my God. And then we were down to the last 10 films, and then they released that to the public. So our inbox just went crazy. It really was insane, and quite overwhelming, really. We had distributors, agents, PR, everyone just kind of trying to get hold of us. So it felt really strange. And then there's like a month, isn't there, up and towards the live nominations.
Yeah, and the 10 thing, when you're on the list of 10, we're reading the email on this list of 10, and then we read that it was going to be released in Variety magazine, and we were absolutely buzzing, because it was like, at least people would know that we're not making it up.
Yeah.
Because it sounds so far-fetched to be like, that little short film we made in Stoke, well, it's on the long list for an Oscar, and no one ever talks about the long list as well. So like,
but even that is an incredible achievement. Like, it really is. And I think our year there was 165 long-listed films. I think last year there was even more. But it's a huge achievement. Which
that's the long list, and then there's the 10, and then there's the 5. But
you're not supposed to. The rules of the Academy, I don't know if they've changed. You're not allowed to kind of celebrate that long list thing.
Right.
I don't know.
You don't hear much about that, do you? I've never heard of that.
No, but it's a huge achievement. It really is. And then I think the shortlist now is like 15 this year. They've changed the rules a little bit. So yeah, we were like 10 become 5, and then they make you record yourselves, which is the weirdest thing. And we really didn't want to do it, but we are glad we did. So you record yourselves. God knows.
They want your reactions.
But can you imagine if we didn't? That video never would have seen the light of day. We're very
it's so weird, because like you said, you're like, what? It's just the weirdest thing. But actually, we put it on early and forgot all about it. So by the time that...
And then we were... watched it with the rest of the world, and we got nominated, and I think we were just so overwhelmed, as you would, but mainly for us, because that little girl Maisie, who was I think 6 years old when she found out she could go to the Oscars, we just couldn't believe it, and we honestly didn't care what happened after that. And we obviously just went on an even more mental ride after that. But that was insane.
And the night itself, obviously you came out as the winners. How that must have been a moment of pure elation, surely.
And also, we were saying that, and this is not to discredit anyone who's won an Oscar before. Obviously, I've not ever been anywhere close. But like, some Oscars are won by campaigning, and there are a lot of politics involved. But yours is such a genuine win. Like, you had no idea, and you won it for the great film that you made. It must feel even better because of that.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. But
you know what I mean, though. It's like, you hear stories of sort of people sending gifts and all sorts of nonsense to try and win. But with yours, it was just from a project you put together, and then it's just and it's just hit the sky, really.
Unless we're wrong, of course, and you did bribe a lot of officials.
It's like they bought them a house or something.
Well, we don't know another way of doing it, so we just did it our way. It certainly felt, we were so overwhelmed, really, but very out of body experience, isn't it, on the night? You're sat there and like there's Meryl Streep and all these people that you've kind of grown up watching and stuff, and you're in the mix, and your movie's is in consideration. It's just it's the strangest thing, really.
And the campaigning is important as well, but we were very, very late getting PR. We only got it after we were shortlisted, and people get it months and months before.
Which is apparently it's recommended when you've got short if you're going to go on a festival circuit to get a PR manager sort of really early on. But we got approached after getting on this list that this is what we should do. I don't think had that happened we'd have had a clue.
No, we really were very green, and Catherine Lynn Scott of
London Flair.
Yeah, London Flair is just amazing, and she really kind of guided us through, and she hounded us. She really did. She was messaging Facebook and any way she could get in touch with us, and she really was fantastic and really helped us kind of get our film out there. But she said, I have to start today. We've got we're very behind. So that was interesting. We wouldn't have known that at all, would we? No,
because you're to arrange these screenings and invite people to watch them and all that sort of stuff that, we wouldn't have known.
We really wouldn't have. Yeah. So that was interesting.
And the film itself is 20 minutes long approximately. And after I'd watched it, it felt like I'd watched a feature. And it wasn't crammed too much with stuff. No. I mean, it was so wholesome. I'd watched it and thought it really had a great story. It wasn't rushed and it had been pushed or had too much pushed in it. It was nicely paced. And is that something you went out to try and do specifically, or is that how it sort of organically came together?
Well, I think the script was around 25 pages when we kind of had when you had the last draft.
Yeah.
And then the first assembly was like half an hour, and then for a long time it was 25 minutes, and we had some good advice along the way to just really get it down under 20 minutes. So it's actually 19 minutes 54 with credits, and I think that if it's over 20 minutes you don't qualify for a lot of festivals.
Right, okay.
So we really worked hard to get that down, and I think that was the best choice we could have done, really. We really squeezed the juice. So that's my biggest advice to any of the filmmakers making a short: just squeeze the juice out of your film. And we could have saved a fortune, I think, by the amount we put out, But I think that's the right way to go about it for us anyway. We like that approach.
And as a filmmaker, Chris, how long is this something you've wanted to do your entire life?
I guess it probably is, actually. I mean, I started acting when I was about 8 years old, and then I told a lie to my mum when I was about 13, saying we had to have a video camera for school for media studies. And I just fell in love. I actually fell in love with editing. I remember there's like a specific moment. We did like a project at school, and we did like a few scenes and put them together. And it was a software called Pinnacle 8. And I remember my friend editing. I just could not believe, you could do transitions and how you could change things around. And that just blew my mind. And from that moment, really, I've always had a camera in my hand. And I used to, I'm from the Midlands, so in this specific area, Cannock, not that much went on. I used to cause a lot of trouble. So for me, making films was a way of staying out of trouble on the weekends. So I used to gather the neighbourhood kids, and we'd make a film, and then they'd say they've got to go home for tea, and I'm like, no, you have to stay. We haven't finished the shot.
Continuity.
Yeah. and then I would screen it to them, and then sell them DVDs afterwards.
Good man.
So I learned distribution from a very young age. Yeah.
And you've just finished on a project just now. Are you able to talk a little bit about that at all?
Yes, we can. It was written by a guy called James Spillman, and we produced it alongside Rebecca Harris, and it's called Into Deep. So it's a story of grief with a real twist. So it's hard to talk about it in detail without really revealing too much. It's a bit of a weird one, actually. A real contrast to The Silent Child. It's a lot darker, and it's hard to say, isn't it, without giving too much away, I think. Yeah.
Is that what you look for, a contrast in what you've already just done?
I think I'm still, if I'm being honest, I'm still finding my voice. I'm still finding what I like. So I've done 3 short films now, and I think they're all quite different. I like to find stuff that has a social message if possible. But yeah, I think it's nice at this early stage to try different things and find what you like. So yeah, I guess my voice is started to develop nicely, I hope.
You mentioned earlier about squeezing the juice to get it under that 20-minute line, but also to get the best product you could. Would you have any other advice for people who are looking to go and make their own short films at first? Both of you, Rachel as well, seeing as it was your first time.
I just feel so underqualified to give any kind of advice, but if I was gonna give any, it would be to write about something that you really care about, because I know there are different types of writers, and I meet some of them, and I'm absolutely in awe of them. They can just pick up something and write a story about it. I mean, they're far better writers than I am. But for me, I have to be really invested in what I'm writing about, because actually a short film is a bit of a labour of love, and you're going to have many rubbish days. And if you don't care, I think it would be only too easy to give it all up, really. And so when it gets a bit rubbish and a bit expensive as well. So it would be to pick something that you really care about.
I completely agree. I think it's so hard, and it does require time, energy, money. And for short films, there's only so many directions in which you can turn to for money. So that is always a sticking point. So you've got to be all in. So I think I like a good motto, which is, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And because we get asked to do certain things, or as a director or a writer, you might get asked to, can you write this, can you direct that? And I think if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. If it's not really something that grabs you, I think you have to say no, because some fall in the middle. It's like, oh, that's nice, that's cool. I think that'd be interesting. But if it doesn't literally sweep you off your feet, I would say don't do it. Yeah.
How do you think the sort of challenges have changed for you both as your careers have progressed?
I mean, I'm probably going to possibly repeat a little bit of what I've already said, but for me, it's been quietening the voices, because when obviously the Silent Child went on the journey that it did, and we won the award, you are sort of thrust into another category which you are grossly underqualified and underprepared for, because it was my first thing I'd ever written. So it sort of came 10 years, 15 years too soon. And I felt like I hadn't, to a certain degree, earned my stripes, and I still kind of don't. But yet you're in that category, and people are going, well, what about this? And what about this? And do you want to do this? Tell me what you want to do next. And in all honesty, I just didn't know. I was an actor. I was an actor first, and I still am. But so I didn't have a plan necessarily to move forward. And so I think it's changed in that I've now been able to sort of remove myself from that. That was a thing that happened with that one particular project, and it was great, and I'm really proud of it. But now I'm just going to focus on doing what I would have done anyway, regardless of that happening. I mean, it's kind of like, and I mean this with the most respect, but forgetting it ever happened, really.
Yeah, it's kind of like getting the keys to a Ferrari after you've just passed your test. It's like, it's a weird thing. Or
before you've passed your test.
Yeah. But that feeling, I don't know if you guys drive, but you just, when you have passed your test, you still don't know the roads very well. You're still like a little bit,
Yeah.
So it's I think that's great advice. It's hard because people want to talk about it, and we're so proud of it as well, and we always will be. But I think we've had to do that. We've kind of have to, in a way, put it to bed and kind of just get back to reality, I guess, and just try and move on and find. We're discovering our voices, I think, as filmmakers right now. We've got a long way to go where that's concerned. But the more work we do, the more we will find that, I think.
And are you writing all the time? Because you said the new project is written by somebody else, and have they brought you that script, or are there scripts that you're still developing yourselves that you want to film?
Yeah, so that was a short. I think for me personally, I always wanted to do 3 short films and then look at a feature. So we were lucky enough to do another short film written by Rachel in the summertime in between that one, which was a beautiful little film called Leader. If you've not checked it out, have a little look. yeah, Rachel is currently writing.
Written.
Yeah.
Finished.
Yeah. And yeah, I have to be on my best behaviour because she could just choose another director, but hopefully she picks me.
Yes, I've written a feature now, and it's certainly put in a place where I'm, you know, as happy as I'll probably be with it. I mean, I think I want to change it right till we go on the floor. Probably,
yeah, and it will.
And it'll keep changing. But yeah, I've got to put a point that I'm happy with, and that's been a bit of an undertaking. And I'm just relieved more than anything at this point that I've managed to do it from start to finish. And it makes vague sense. I mean, that's like an achievement.
And are you able to tell us anything about that at all, or is that?
No, I'm really not. Unfortunately,
Sure.
we have got, you know, really lucky that we've got kind of little pot of money early on, which is always a really good sign. But it's a true story, and so the legalities around it are quite tight. So can't say anything at the moment, but for sure we will when we can.
Yeah,
it must be nice to develop your own projects. So I once William Goldman said that giving up your script is like building a sandcastle and then someone coming over and just kicking it over when they make the film. So it must be lovely to work on the script all the way from the beginning and acting in it and then seeing it through to the end.
Oh, it's the best feeling. Yeah, it's crazy. You really feel like like you said, like a kind of sense of ownership over it, and like it's part, you know, it's a real part of you. But then I think as well when it goes on to for the Silent Child and for Leader a little bit, although we had quite a lot of notes on that, didn't we? Because of the partners that we were with. But when you let it go and it goes onto the film festival, people start watching it. Then it's not mine anymore. It's strange. It's like it's mine until while we're watching it, and it's safe, and then it goes, and you just have to let go of it. It belongs to everybody else then, because everybody's got an opinion on it, and everybody wants that, you know, to give to critique it and do all that sort of stuff. So you then have to be like, okay, it's nothing to do with me anymore.
I think me and Rach are just so lucky because I think we gel very well together. You know, I'm just in awe of writers because I don't think my brain works like that. So, you know, I just feel so lucky.
I think it would.
Rach gives me, like, I don't know how you can stare at a blank screen, and I'm just absolutely in awe of writers that they can do that. You know, I'm given I'm given an instruction manual, you know, I'm given like a base, a foundation, and then I'm able to kind of, you know, put my flair and my ideas into it, but I've got something to go off. But
I think, Chris thinks in pictures and I like words. So it always works quite well, doesn't it?
When we listen to a song, I'll just say, oh my God, that melody's amazing. She'll say, yeah, but there's no lyrics. I'll be like,
I'll be like, did you listen to the lyrics though? And you're like, no, I didn't get that at all. Like,
I love the cello, or whatever.
So
it's quite
obviously the two of you work exceptionally well together, and you know we've seen you both act in A Glimpse, and you've both worked together on The Silent Child. How did you both meet? How did that begin?
We worked together, didn't we? Yeah, we worked together
a long time ago now.
In Hollyoaks many years ago, and then Chris was out in the States when I was in the States, and we were met up, talked about films, helped him with the self-tape, all that sort of stuff, and then I took him the script not long after that.
I think you said I've got an idea for this film, and you told me like the rough outline. I was like, oh my God, that sounds amazing, just write it. You know, you have to write it. And then she presented me with the first draft of the script. I was just blown away. I think
that's not strictly true.
I was. I think that was the moment where I feel like I didn't know I wanted to be a director. Really, I loved film. I loved filmmaking ever since I was about 13, and I had a camera in my hand. But I didn't really know what direction I wanted to go. And then I read that script, and like something. It sounds really cheesy, but honestly, something like. There's like a fire in my belly when I read that. I could just visualize this world that she created and the characters that Rach does.
But it was so technically imperfect, wasn't it? Because like I didn't know a thing about formatting a script or anything like that. Like I'd read many scripts as an actor, but I had no idea how to do all that business. So it's quite. Although
but it was
enjoyed it, it was a difficult read for you.
But it was all there, and you know, reading that on paper was just amazing. I think that's where I would say I knew I wanted to direct. I just wanted to tell that story, not even like, oh, okay, now I'm a director. It was more like, it was just this. It was just, I wanted to do that. I wanted to tell that story. It was it was awesome.
And if you were both starting out now, what is the one thing you'd both like to know that you now know, having gone through the journey that you've gone on, that you wish you'd known when you started out?
Good question. But I think what Rach said earlier is really, I think, the fact that it was good that we didn't know a lot, if in a way, if that makes sense.
You mean like you wouldn't
blissfully
want to know.
Unaware.
It's actually ignorance is bliss. It's better not to know the pitfalls. I think
if I knew what I knew now, I think, I don't know, we wouldn't have made certain choices that actually turned out for the better. I don't know. It's hard to go back.
I think it's just about following your instinct. I think in this kind of game, all you've got is your voice, and it's about just staying true to that and not forgetting that ever for a second that it's just about the work. And so even when something crazy might happen in your career that can catapult you, or it can take you on a different trajectory, which is great, I think never lose sight of the fact that it's still always about the work. And you've always got to be producing good stuff, whatever you are, a director, writer, actor.
And I think if you can genuinely care about the story that you're telling, and if that's always, like Rach says, the main focus, then that's all that matters,
Fair. Rachel, I wanted to ask you a quick question. I was talking to Ollie before about James Herriot's novels and All Creatures Great and Small. Obviously, that is a remake of the original series that was made. What was it like to be a part of that? I read all the books as a child and I thoroughly loved it and just wanted to know more.
They're just beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah, they are amazing.
Thank you. Do you like the series?
I did enjoy the series. I enjoyed it more than the original, I have to say, because I always felt the original was a bit...
That's the right
answer. Thank you.
Well, he's not going to say anything else.
I've got a gun here, Charlie, come on now.
You can't see it in this camera. But the original I always felt had a kind of a distance that the novels... So the novels had this very big personalisation. Obviously, they were written by James Herriot.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel it had quite the same spirit. And then when I watched yours, I was like, oh, okay, there's a new... And I couldn't tell whether it was a kind of a modern interpretation. Obviously, it wasn't modern, but... Or just a new spark, new actors. But I wondered if, had you read all the books going into it, or did you just go in with your own charm and ideas? I just wanted to hear more about it.
It's a really good question. So when I first got the audition, the title was very familiar, but I didn't know. I certainly hadn't seen the BBC adaptation, and I still haven't. And I don't intend to now, because I knew that Ben Vanstone, the lead writer, was adapting the series based on Alf White's books. Alf White is a pseudonym of he writes under the pseudonym of James Herriot, So I knew the books would be my reference point. So after I initially did my tape or whatever, I read the books and very quickly fell in love with the world that Alf White created, really. And there's a sort of rich simplicity to the stories. Sorry, that's our dog.
It's all right.
Rosie. No, it's fun, isn't it?
No, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Do you want to just go on? Yeah.
Animals, eh?
All creatures great and small.
Talking about animals, eh?
Sorry. Yes, there's a rich simplicity to the stories and to the world that Alf White created, and very quickly fell in love with it. And I think what's really lovely about our adaptation is Ben, and Brian Percival's our lead director, manages to capture that so well. And the characters really feel multifaceted. And obviously, you were right, we are telling it for a modern audience. And so there are, certainly for the female characters, they're much more well-rounded and things like that. So there's so much pressure taken on a show that's already been once super successful. Everybody loves it. But really, it was the sort of collective pressure, because everybody in every department, direction, art design, Jackie Smith, absolutely spectacular. The makeup team, everybody wanted to do these lovely stories justice. So I did feel the pressure. It was a bit scary, but I felt it was shared. And in terms of my interpretation, I was going off of the crumbs that were left in the book. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot written. Sorry, I'm just going to pick her up.
It's at this point we have to tell you we're sponsored by such and such. We're not sponsored. It's fine.
No.
Right, she should be all right now. Let's put her down.
I don't know.
Maybe you could restart from a certain.
No. Honestly, carry on. It's fine.
These go in the bloopers. It's fine.
I'm going to start from my character bit. So yeah, with my character, I read all the books, but what's really interesting about the books is obviously we see Helen through James's eyes. So it's his feelings towards her, how he feels about her, what he thinks when he meets her. rather than from her perspective. So I used those crumbs, and that was great. And then we were so lucky with the show because we spoke to Rosie and Jim White, which are Alf and Joan, the real James and Helen's children, who were able to sort of share those little anecdotes and things from family life, which you never get to see in the book. So I formed her based on the bits in the books and what their children had said, and sort of came up with something myself, really.
That's so good, because I did wonder if any of it was based off, the real experiences. Obviously, it's a real story, and if you'd been able to speak to, obviously you have, relations and hear bits that weren't in the books but are just as good, that just didn't fit in.
And there's a museum, isn't there?
Yeah. There's a Harriet Museum in Thirsk in Yorkshire, which is the village where the real Skeldale House used to be. It's the original practice, and it's just full. And so we were spoilt with research, really, because there's so much information out there about these books. So many people have got stories, and being in Yorkshire, you kind of feel surrounded by it. And everyone's got an Alf White story, which is really interesting in Yorkshire. Everybody comes up to you and shares I'll tell you this one time when, and it was funny because when we were filming, everybody's dead excited, like the locals. We took over a little village called Grassington, which became our Darrowby, which is beautiful, and the locals are all so excited, and wouldn't have actually been possible without the support of the community there. Just to mention, because you know what it's like when a film crew pitches up somewhere, they really take over, and it's this tiny place, and the community was so supportive, and they were always like, "Oh, it's another series, brilliant!" But it always comes with like a side order of "Don't mess it up," but not that polite because we're in Yorkshire.
So I was about to say they're very blunt up there, certainly.
Very lovely.
But no, that's brilliant. Thank you for that. We're aware you've got a time constraint, but one of the final questions we like to ask our guests whenever they come on, and so for both of you now, is what is a film you are ashamed you haven't seen?
There's probably loads.
Yeah, God.
I don't know who this is worse for.
It's going to be worse for me, but I think it's okay. But I do always feel bad. In fact, I might have even probably said I'd seen it at some point because I felt so embarrassed. The Godfather.
All of them, or just?
I haven't seen any.
Okay.
And then up until a few weeks ago, I would have had the same answer. So, but mine's probably now like The Godfather 3 because I've seen 1 and 2. But, I think. I feel
like that's something that people talk about a lot, and I haven't seen it.
It is. That's basically my list of films to watch. All the ones that people go, "Oh my God, you haven't seen that?" But like some classics that. I haven't seen.
Followed by polite nodding and not saying anything.
Yeah, I loved it too. What did you say?
Good luck with that.
Yeah, Godfather. Have we had that before?
No.
We haven't had The Godfather before.
We have Star Wars quite often.
Star Wars, we had Dark Knight.
I've never seen that either.
Okay.
Really?
Okay, stop there.
Sorry, guys, you're breaking up.
Brilliant. Well, fantastic answers. Thank you very much, both of you. Rachel and Chris, thank you for coming on. And to all of our listeners, as always, thank you for staying with us, and we'll see you next time.